Okay, so we are on time. I am going to start. Let me change my presentation monitor, the primary one. There it is. So, hello everyone. My name is Bruno Capuano. I am a Microsoft MVP. I work leading innovation in Avanade, Canada. You probably noticed the accent. I am not Canadian. I came from Spain, and before Spain from other parts. And today I'm going to share with you a couple of lessons around diversity and inclusion. And I have a Latin background, and I can't dance. So this is something that you can probably be relate, or you can probably understand that in the Latin context, not being able to dance is not easy. So this is it. You can contact me on Twitter at Bruno or in my blog. I do a lot of fun things. I try to do fun things, but today I'm not going to talk about myself. I'm going to basically talk about what we can do. So first, let's start with a big thank you for all of the sponsors, for chat, for all of the people who make this possible. It was supposed to be a face-to-face. We are living crazy days, but this is an amazing opportunity to do something different. So thank you very much, everyone who supported this to do this virtual Code PaLOusa. And let's start with this. Let's start. So when I start my presentation, I always start with a big disclaimer. Sorry for the bad jokes, sorry for the bad animations, and sorry for the bad puns. My idea is to tell a story, is to share with you what I am doing. Basically, I'm not going to do any live demo here, but I am going to tell a story. And in order to give you a background, as I said, I was born and raised in Argentina a long time ago. I am 44 years old, so you can make the numbers. And I live an amazing life there. I am not the computer people who started to play around with computer at a young age. I didn't have access to these kind of things. Argentina is a third world country. It's very difficult to do these kind of things. But I have an amazing family. I have an amazing set of brothers and father, mother, everyone there. And I started to work in technology in my late 20s. And around in 2005, after working 5 years in technology, mostly with Microsoft products, I decided that we were just married with my wife, and we decided to, okay, Argentina is a very tricky place to live, so let's try to do something in a different place. And we went to Spain. And we live in Spain 11 years. We live in 11 years in Spain, and initially we are going to stay in Spain for just a year, and take a look of how it's Europe, and the year becomes 11 years, 2 kids, we travel a lot. I was lucky enough to work in a big company. This company supported me to do all of amazing set of things, and hey, that was crazy good. And 4 years ago, my kids were 8 and 6, and I started to have the feeling that if I want to give them the chance to learn a new culture, to learn a new language, and something like this is the age, because I have the feeling that they become teenagers, it's going to be more difficult. So then we decided, so we did another 10-hour move international, this time with 2 kids. I tell you the story how complicated it is to move a pet between different countries, between different continents. So we moved to Canada, and the last 4.5 years, we did, as a family, a lot of amazing stuff here in North America. I've been here mostly for work, but this is the time that we have a chance to go to the Rock and Roll Museum of Fame, and go to Philadelphia, go to Miami, New York, and we visit a lot of places, and it was great. So this is the format where I started to basically, I want to tell the story about this, telling about myself, how is my life. When I started to pitch this to my wife, she said, you need to change this. And she's very, very smart. My wife, we've been together 20 years, and she's freaking smart. I remember the first time that I realized that how smart is my wife was when we first started to live together, in the early 2000s, 20 years ago. So we went to an apartment, we started to live together, and we have the typical session around, okay, how do you put the toilet paper in your bathroom? How you are going to do this? Which is the right way to do this? So I have the right way and the wrong way. This is my point of view. This is what I am trying to explain to her. This is my pitch to her. So I am a very practical guy. So I explained to her that for me, when you are in the bathroom and you have the toilet paper in front of you or on the sides, depending on your bathroom layout, you're probably going to, the hand to paper movement is very important. So the right way, my way, is much more easier than the wrong way. Then I also, remember, I'm a very technical guy. I also started to make a couple of diagrams and blueprints around how the view and the eye line of the view from your face to the toilet paper is also important. So I started to explain the right and wrong. And my wife, she's very, very smart. She listened to all of my pitch. She spent there all of the time that she needed with me. And when we finished, she leaves the bathroom, went outside, we have a kitten, bring the kitten to the bathroom, and 10 seconds later, the kitten, with my right way to do things, basically killed all of the toilet paper. It was a nice toy to our kitten there, to our cat back in those days. So I understand that she was right. And this is the moment that I understand that my wife is never wrong. And sometimes it seems to me that she's wrong, but she's not wrong at all. So she came back to be right. And when she said to me, you don't need to tell your story, you need to tell what you learn about this. This is when I changed the way that I am going to talk about diversity and inclusion. And this is also mostly because if you start to read about this, if you start to research about diversity and inclusion and these topics, you are always going to find that everything is focused, most of the studies are focusing these three main topics: sexual orientation, religion, and age. And that's it. And that's basically most of the talks and books and papers that you can find and focus on this, which is great. It's a nice triangle. It's a nice point of view. You can start here, but when you put this as a triangle, when I see a triangle, for me, the first thing that I think in my mind is always Egypt. Egypt is this. Then you come here and you start to realize in North America that people probably saying that, hey, maybe this is a Dorito, so that's fine. A Dorito is also fine. But when you talk about this, these three topics are not good enough. This is basically a crappy start to talk about this because there are so many other things to talk about. How was your childhood? How is a person's education? What are your family values? What do you think about A, B, or C? There are so many things to have in consideration when you start to talk about diversity and inclusion that just focus in the three: sexual orientation, religion, and age. Today is not good enough. You need to basically open your mind. It's all about how you are living, how you are connecting. And for me, coming from this Latin background, and I'm not going to speak and share all of the background around this. We can chat about this later. I prefer to show different way to do things so the people can understand, you, myself, and someone else, or a bigger group can understand how these things work. And a good example of this is this conference, the Caribbean Developer Conference. And I love this conference. This conference has been up and running for the last 3 years. This year, because of COVID, is not going to be happening, but it's usually around October, November in Santo Domingo, in Punta Cana, and it's in Dominican Republic, and it's a great place to understand how different the developers are from the other communities. When you get there, you start to see that this is a typical technical conference. So you have a big hotel with the meeting rooms and the big auditoriums, and you see the technical presentation there. And by the way, the technical aspects here in this conference, it's freaking amazing. We have people like Jessica, Scott Hanselman, a lot of very, very amazing presenters was there last year. I was also lucky to be part of this group, but you find that everything is as supposed to be until you get to the night. And this is because it's organized by these Latin people. When you get to the night, you have the chance to go to the beach and to start to drink a beer or whatever you like. I don't drink alcohol, for example, but this was great for me to have a club soda or something and have the chance to talk with these amazing presenters, with these technical people, and have this connection. And this is something that we Latin people do a lot. We, the Latins, we love to talk, we love to interact, we love to live close to each other and touch each other and say hi, and we use our hands a lot. So this is a good example of how you can feel how different is this conference from other conference, not in the technical parts, not in the technical and the stations, the sessions and how it's staged, but at the end, it has a special flavor, it has a special something that give you the sense, oh my God, these people are Latin people. And if you go to something like this, in Italy, in example, you're going to have the Italian way with some gelato and pasta or whatever. By the way, I can say that my grandfathers come from Italy, so I love my Italian, Argentinian heritage from there. But thinking about these examples is where you are going to see how you can get all of this. And by the way, you may not like to do something like this. That's fine. That's amazing. This is something that you can relate, understand, and learn. And maybe it's not for you. Go for another next year. But you're going to start to learn how different are each one of the communities, each one of the persons, in order to connect with them. And when you are starting to do this, you realize that you are going to have your own baggage. You're going to have your own backpack with your own set of stuff that you can put in the table and be happy about it or not be happy about it. One of very, very important for us is the accent. How you're going to live with your accent. I have a very strong accent. I've been speaking English mostly in the last 4 or 5 years, but before this, when I was in Europe, I was traveling a lot. English is the common language there. Mostly all around Europe, you find people who speak English. And you have this accent, so it's hard to relate and connect with people sometimes, but you need to learn with the accent. And when people ask me how is to live with an accent, I always say to them that living with an accent is, you need to think like, I personally prefer to think like this, is when you are flying on a plane, again, not today, but when you are flying on a plane and you know what's happening in first class. I don't usually travel in business, it needs to be a very long flight or whatever, but I know what's happened there. I know the amazing life that people is having there. And when you are in the plane and you are sitting on the first in the first rows where you can see first class and you see all of the flight attendants there with the amazing food and everything there, and you see how the people seem to be so relaxed, so enjoying the flight where you are crapping in your seat, something like this there, and you have, at some moment, you have the flight attendant closing the curtain, and you basically start to realize that you are sitting next to a guy who is who is selecting the movie using his feet. So when you start to realize this, by the way, this is disgusting, so let me put another much more nice picture. When you see that in front of you, you have a doggy trying to talk with you. This is living with an accent. You know there is something amazing happening there, but you know that you are going to be part of this. Even if someone allows you to be there, you have these accents. You need to learn how to live with this. You need to do the best around this. So there are so many things that you can do. I can tell you a lot of stories. I can tell you stories about, an example, a couple of years ago, when I was starting to do an example, a presentation like this, and I always tell myself, and sorry about the accent, and some people say, hey, you know what? We love your accent. It's amazing. If you have a message and the accent is a plus in the message, we love it. And I also find scenarios where someone said to you, you have a very strong accent. So this is C-level executive. They are not going to like to listen to someone like you. We need someone else. How do you face this? A couple of years ago, this happened to me. Someone said, hey, we are going to keep you away from this project / client / meetings because you have a very strong accent. So I can I basically kill myself here. At home, my wife take a look at me and say what's happened. I tell her, and she said, okay, you have two options. You can work on your accent, you can leave it go, and that's it, or you can see what else you can do. So I went back there, and I started to realize, is this really this important? My accent is really this important? I can do something about this. What we can do? So I started to talk with the people involved in this client and this project, and I realized that my accent was a very small piece there. The problem is that this is a very sensitive client. We was in the final stage of whatever. We didn't want to miss anything. So it wasn't the right time for me. So between myself being kind of sensitive about my accent and this person not being very polite in the way that she managed the message, we basically both messed up. But at the end, we have an amazing session with them talking about, I think it was mixed reality or something like this. And it was a huge success. It was great. But you need to live with these kind of things. And for me, the lesson was, do not stop and let it go. Talk about this. Try to see what else you can do. Okay, if the accent is a problem, may I work with John, Mary, or whoever to see if they can help with me or what we can do? Never. For me, what I learned there is that I'm a 40 years old Latin person, but I should not mute myself. I will always try to speak up and see what else we can do. And also, there are, again, remember, I'm a very technical guy. There are technologies that can help us. I can use technology to basically improve and have a different accent. So let me show you an example of this. Let's open a browser and let me copy here a URL. So PowerPoint has an amazing tool. I don't know if it's going to work because I am already using my Microsoft, but it has an amazing tool that you can use online. And this is called rehearsal slideshow. This is called the rehearsal coach. And what you can do here is when you present, you can rehearse with the coach. And in order to rehearse with the coach, you are going, when you start to do this, you are going to start to speak, and you are going to start to realize that you can probably, in example, you are speaking too fast, or you are reading the contents from the slides, and we don't want to read the contents from the slides, or you are doing ABCs fast, or wrong, or rant, or it's going to give you a lot of advice there, and it's really, really great in order to see how you can improve there. And there is also an amazing set of features here. Let me see if I can start this. So an example. I will rehearse with the code. There is the code. It's going to start rehearsing. And while I am speaking, you can see the slides. And by the way, the slides are associated something I am going to show you, which is a file that kills some kind of studio set. I don't know. I started to search about news, and I found the news, and it was very good for me. And I started to show all of these things. But if I start to put something and I read the text here, disruption threatens, hey, first things to do here, do not so many there. Do not use your, I can't remember the English word for this, but you can do these sort of things. Also, I can start, again, do not use this kind of thing, so it's helping me. I can start to also not only improve my speech here, but also improve the way that I am talking about. As a non-English speaker, it's hard for me to understand sometimes by using sensitive words or these kind of things. But if I say here, made in Chelsea, set thrown into chaos after 5 men are called to engulfed in flames or whatever, I just use the word fireman there. And fireman, right now, it's something that I can change. So it says here, hey, this is maybe offensive because it's only focused on men. Let's use some other word like firefighters. So I can use this tool, and I'm going to stop this. Even if you take a look at what we can do, I can use this tool to basically improve the way and I am doing this. I am not going to kill my accent. I am going to still probably have my accent until I die 120 years from today. But this is something that helped me to get there. And when I'm finished practicing my speech, I can do a lot of things. Like an example, I don't know how, but the pace was great. I always think that I speak too fast, but for the rehearsal was great. Then I have my pitch when I was on target or not, depending on the content on the slide. I didn't read my slides, so I have a check on originality, but I use a couple of sensitive phrasers and I use a lot of fillers. So there are tools that can help us to move forward and not have these accents, or even move forward and avoid these sensitive topics or phrases that you can use there. So it's great to see how we can, in example, relating to the accent, how we can use tools to help us become better presenters or have even better speech. So I use this a lot in order to avoid this word, to see if I'm speaking too fast or too slow. And it's a great tool. You only need to put a couple of slides in OneDrive, and when you start to present, there they are. You have the present with the rehearsal coach, and you can have a better experience. So let me go back to my slide. So technology can help. I'm a technical guy. I like to do this one, but it's not just an accent. There are so many other things. So an example, when people ask me who I am, to me it's hard to tell because I basically live my life in 3 different places. So I'm kind of Argentinian, Spaniard, Canadian guy, which is fine, it's great. But what's happened there is that sometimes, in example, when I talk about Spain, people always think about Spain. The first thing that comes to your mind when you talk about Spain is bulls, bullfightings, or paella, or something like this. And that's great. But we are so used to box people around some, I don't know, country of origin, ethnics, religion, or whatever, that when someone shares with you something like this, where are you from, we tend to generalize and put these people in a box. And this is not wrong. And let me be clear. This is not wrong because this is basically how our minds are used to work. When we find something, we try to put this in a box so we can move forward, learn, and do something else. But we also need to understand that sometimes this is not just good enough. So yes, you come from Spain. That's amazing. What else? So what I am doing most of the time here is I usually try to stop, give myself 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or whatever to get this, okay, Bruno is from Spain, and then ask a couple of questions. Use two whys or what or what or where to learn more about this. And after these couple of questions, you're probably going to realize that, hey, this person is from Spain, for example. I'm going to use the Spain as the source for this. This person is from Spain. But you know what? He is originally from other parts, but his both kids are come from Spain, and he worked in Spain a lot, but he mostly worked in Europe all the time. And he has you can learn a lot. So having these labels, creating automatically this label when you meet someone or when you work with a crew, when someone said to me, oh my God, you need to go, we have an amazing team, then you need to go and start to work with this team in India, the first thing that's come to my mind is, oh my God, time difference. How we are going to handle this? I've been there a couple of times and it's complicated. Early morning for me, late days for them. But at the end, when you meet these people, in example, this is a personal side, they're amazing and it's a pleasure to work with them. The same if you need to work with Australian. For me, it's basically the other side of the world. So how you're going to do? And you talk about Australians, I think killing spiders and these kind of things. Before moving to Canada, I was thinking in Canada of snow everywhere, people fighting with bears and these kind of things. And it's not all about this. There are snow a lot, but it's not just about this. So moving away from these labels is also very, very important. And as I said, it's not bad to have this because we are going to do this. We are going to put labels into people, but we also need to understand that there is something else, there is something more. And I really, really believe that if we help to create a culture of a two-person, a team, or a company around welcome everyone and learn from each other, this is something which is amazing because we are probably going to learn much more around Spain, in example, than we usually know. Spain is an amazing country. With my wife, we have the idea that when we retire, we're going back to Spain and live in a small house in the beach because it's the best place in the world to live if you are retired. But people think of Spain about finding these other things. So give the chance to a team, to a person, to a company to try to understand more about them. This is something that we always need to put at the table. And on this one. And there are other things we can do. As I said at the beginning, this is not going to be a long talk. I aim for half an hour, I aim 20-something minutes, but this is a continuous process for learning. And as a technical person, always people tell me, okay, what else we can do? How we can do more? How we can learn? And again, I will share, I don't have the solution there. I have a couple of plans. I can share with you what we did in company A, B, or C later. It's not my idea. My idea is to share what I am doing. This is a personal session, and this is something that is important to do. So what else we can do? I don't know, an example. I learned a few days ago that, let me open here the same article. The text that you read in the previous slide from an article that I found online in a UK company. And it basically, I copied the first two paragraphs of the website to have it here. But I learned a couple of days ago that we have features inside Office, in example, that like the presenter codes can help us to avoid bias and to be more inclusive inside when you're writing an email or when you're writing a document. And if you don't, like myself, if you are not an English speaker, I don't understand this. So for me, it was a big opening mind that I've been using the word white list and black list for 40 years, but I never stopped to think, what is meaning? What is the good and bad about the word? Which is important to try to put this in context. Or what happened a couple of months ago with Git and the branch of master and slave, that it was the default way to do this. Again, I never think about this, and mostly because I still don't think a lot in English. I have a crazy head in my head. But I found that we can use technology to help us. So there is I said it's a hidden feature because not a lot of people knows about this, but when you're working in Word, you can go to File, Options. Let me drink some water here. File, Option, and improving. Here for Word, we have a settings option where we can enable or disable these inclusiveness options. And what this is going to do is going to check your text, is going to check the content of your Word document, and is going to check for age bias, cultural bias, ethnical, and yada, yada, yada. And as I said, by default, this is not enabled. But when you enable this, when it's done, when you have it there, you have the option, in example, when you are talking here, that let me go to, you are going to find words like fireman. And when you click on fireman, you are going to see that, again, fireman seems to be a non-inclusive term. The suggestion here is to use firefighters. So this is great. Again, I never even seen that fireman is fire and man, not fire and woman or something else or whatever. So firefighters seem to be more appropriate here. And there are plenty of things that you can do with this. And again, if you are not, like myself, a native English speaker, it's going to take me a long time to get here. I can use Word to get here. So this is something that else I can do. Let me open another sample that I have for another article that they have here. When you can see here the word, again, whitelist. So why are you going to use whitelist? Why are you going to blacklist? I will probably don't even think about this the first couple of times. After I see words helping understand me, I will start to think about, hey, this is something that you can do. And it helped me to learn. So this is something that it doesn't take you a lot of time. It's just 4 clicks. And I'm going to share the 4 clicks. I wrote an article some time ago about how you can do this. But when you have it there, it's a way to basically improve yourself and do something else. And this is my way to help here. I know that for me it's an extra effort that I need to do, but I'm willing to do this because I really want to be part of this. So I am getting to the end of the presentation. This is the 30 minutes that we have here. This is the Word slide. So just a recapitulation. It's all about respect. Inclusion, diversity and inclusion is not very complicated if you think about this. If you are respecting each other, if you are talking to each other, I know that this is a very tricky topic. So say it's not complicated is probably going to kill myself. But I always try to think that if we all put our best part here, it's going to be something like you can be respectful, enjoy talking with people with different accents or whatever. Don't put people in labels. Don't put companies or groups or teams in label. There are so many things that you can do. Like an example, I can't dance. I really can't dance. And this is something that I've been dealing with this all my life because I am a very bad dancer. I initially put here a small 20-second video for myself dancing, and my wife asked me, do you really want the internet to have this? You know that when you put this there, it's going to be forever. So we both decided not to put it there, but it seems that it skips a generation. When you are Latin and you can dance, you are missing a lot of things because most of our get-togethers include dance and these kind of things. But my daughter, she's an amazing dancer. This is a picture of herself 5 years ago back in Spain when she was doing the flamenco dancer, like grab an apple and ole, ole. She's an amazing dancer. And I am lucky that, hey, I can't dance, but my future generation, my legacy, are amazing dancers. So that's good enough for me. I'm not going to improve there. I prefer to use my time to improve my speed, to try to see what I can do to make the teams work better and people feel better. But dance is going to be in the bottom of my priorities, but I'm going to be always the Latin guy who can't dance. So that's basically it. This is my 30-minute speech. Thank you very much for being here. I will take a look at the chat if there is any question here. Sorry again about the bad jokes. Sorry again about the bad puns. It's not a technical question. I'm not focused on technical. This is something new for me, but I think that there is something that I can share. And hey, I will read for questions if there is any question there. Okay, it seems that there are no questions. So again, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to share my lesson learned, my history life, and a couple of things that we can do all together to improve our the way that we are collaborating and talking and living with each other. And one more time, thanks to the organizer, Chad, and everyone who is behind this. Rebecca, thank you very much for moderating this, and see you virtually around. Goodbye.